Hey guys, and welcome back to the podcast. So today I'm really excited for this episode because I am chatting to one of my clients, Tarnya, who I will introduce properly in a sec. But essentially today I wanted to just talk a little bit about the transition from more of a lifestyle approach into I guess slightly more advanced training in terms of moving more towards like a bodybuilding style physique focused approach as such. And we were just having a conversation before and saying there's a lot of girls out there now that are getting more interested in, bodybuilding. And if you go and watch the shows now, there's a lot of girls in the bikini and the figure classes. So, it's getting very popularized, especially with people wanting to do shoots and things like that. And I think a lot of people aren't really too sure, especially if you've kind of done a bit of training and you're pretty well equipped with your training and you're organized with your structure and stuff like that, but maybe you want to go to that next level with it. And Tanya's basically been through that journey herself, going from already training. I'm not going to babble for too long, but more of a lifestyle approach, transitioning into slightly more of a physique development type approach. So, and you made amazing progress. Like looking at your photos, that one you showed me the other day, the
Yeah.
progress is insane. So yeah, do you want to do a bit of an intro and just kind of intro yourself, like your background, that sort of thing, and we'll go from there.
So I'm Tanya. Like Leah said, I'm relatively like I'm definitely new to like the bodybuilding side of things, relatively new to training, but like like we sort of said, I've done a lot of like the lifestyle side of things up until now. And then in like I think it's been like 6 or 7 months now we've been working together. I was trying to figure it out the other
It
day.
feels like it's been ages,
It
but
feels
maybe
like
it
so
has only
much
been six
longer.
months.
Yeah, I think it was like no, it must have been longer than that. I feel like it was like July, August time
Yeah.
last year. So yeah, a little bit longer than that. But it does feel like a lot
I
longer.
know it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, but obviously like I think it's because so much has happened in that space of time. Like it feels a lot longer because yeah, it's before I started with you, obviously I was doing like lifestyle coaching with another coach, just like literally just like gym stuff. I had a training plan, I had a meal plan, but it was essentially my goal was to like lose a bit of weight.
Yeah.
So like during lockdown, I think it was kind of the same thing for everyone. Everyone was a bit bored and stuck at
Yeah.
home, and I was just like, oh, I need to like lose a bit of weight. Like I put on a bit of weight, so I was going to the gym, and the PTs at the gym were sort of offering online coaching during lockdown. So I signed up with one of those and just started like doing home workouts and like following a bit of a meal plan with the goal to sort of lose a bit of weight. And that was like successful. So before that, I'd been like doing a bit of running, like going to the gym, but not really like I wasn't really like super athletic or like gymmy before that. So I guess it was only really in the last like 3 or 4 years where I've started like going to the gym and like
Yeah.
actually following a training plan. So I lost like I think I lost like 8 kilos over like a good like space of time. It wasn't like a super quick diet thing. Like I had like structure and it was successful, and it got me to like learn more about like following a plan and eating
Yeah.
properly. But obviously, like we said, from a more like lifestyle approach, so it was quite flexible. It was like more like tracking macros as opposed to like following a meal plan. um and that kind of got me into obviously like learning to sort of train better. And like I used to do PT sessions once a week, so I was like in the gym with the PT, like
Yeah.
figuring out how to do stuff, because I before that I'd never really knew what to do really in the gym.
Yeah.
I'd do like it's like the classic story. I go to like a HIIT class or like do like the classes, but I never actually went into the gym and used like the machines and like the weights and things like that.
Yeah.
um so that was kind of like where it started really. I started to work with the coach and learn about it and really find that I enjoyed it, and then it kind of just carried on for a while really. I didn't really have any goals. Like once I'd hit the point of like, oh, I'd lost a bit of weight and I was happy, and I sort of maintained for a while, and then I didn't really know what I wanted to do from that point. And all I knew is that I really loved like training and enjoyed being in the gym. I just didn't really have like a goal. So I think for me, I was like following a lot of people online and seeing like their journeys and sort of thinking maybe like I didn't think I would ever sort of go down the sort of more bodybuilding route, but I think for me it was like having something to sort of focus on helps me to like keep up with the training, and having a goal like pushes me to do it and motivates me. Whereas I was just kind of like coasting along for a while and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I was just like, if I want to do this, I want to like push myself a little bit more and really like see what I can do.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense because I couldn't believe, like, with where you're at now, that you'd only started training like basically 3 years ago. So, you know, when you said you went to the classes and stuff like that, was that like before lockdown then, or was that like after lockdown when you'd lost the weight?
No, a bit before lockdown.
Okay.
So I basically signed up to like the Pure Gym near to me. Like my boyfriend, he like runs marathons and stuff, so he was like super sporty, and I was like, oh, I feel like I kind of need to do something to sort of keep up. And because he was like training quite a lot, I was like, oh, okay, I don't really do anything, so I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I started going to like strength classes and like bums and tums and that sort of thing at the gym. And that was it really. I would be at the back like not speaking to anyone and like not really getting involved, but obviously like saw the different PTs at the gym. And then obviously once the lockdown hit, I kind of stopped doing anything for a while because obviously the gym's closed and I didn't really have like any equipment at home to do stuff. And then that's when I started like the online sort of club.
Okay.
It was actually online classes first before I even actually signed up. Yeah,
because I remember having that first call, and I think you'd just come to the end of your fat loss phase, hadn't you? Okay.
And that's all I'd ever really done. Like I think that's the other thing, is like I enjoyed working with my other coach, but it was just like fat loss. I didn't really build my calories up, and I think it was more me. I kind of like lost interest because there wasn't really, after I'd lost the weight, I didn't really know where to go from there. So it was like I didn't really build my food back up. So I think when we started, I was on just like 1,500 calories or 1,800 calories or something really low like that.
Yeah, because I remember when we had that first call, because I do this with like everyone I work with, is on the call, on that initial consult call, we'll like map out where they want to go sort of long term, because I think I speak to a lot of girls actually who have come from other coaches or had coach in the past. And it's sort of very like short-term thinking with everything. And I think then it's like when you don't see the bigger picture, because obviously not many people, unless they are very into like maybe more, you know, physique development, bodybuilding, whatever, they don't know like about reverse dieting and kind of the other side of it as much and how it all fits together. So I think a lot of people will kind of do a fat loss phase or do fat loss and then be like, right, now what? And it's like you've kind of got into your training, you're enjoying your training, you've lost a bit of weight, you're starting to feel good, and it's like, okay, what's next? So I remember on that first call, we literally mapped it out and we're like, right, we're going to run a reverse diet, we're going to build you up to a good point, then we're going to spend X amount of time building muscle, and then we're going to run like a bit of a like shoot prep thing, and then we can potentially look at going into maybe a prep if you want to. So I think having that structure and like mapping it out massively helps, because you've then got in your head, right, this is where we're going next, and then this is what I'm going to be doing, and it sort of allows you to see like the bigger picture of everything rather than just like, this is what I need to do this week type thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's the thing, like I knew I wanted to like hit certain goals, but I think when you don't know a timeline or like when that's going to happen, it just, you kind of lose it a little bit. Whereas because we set out like very clear sort of, I mean, obviously we have our catch ups like every sort of 8 weeks when the cycles end and stuff, but there's like an even sort of longer goal sort of set. So we've got like markers to work towards. And for me, like I kind of need that structure to keep me sort of motivated and like moving on. And it's massively helped, because like I say, in the past where I've not sort of known what things are doing and what the plan is, it doesn't give me anything to like work towards. Whereas that's why I really like the structure of like how we work together now. It's like there's very clear goals, it's very like set out and clear, and I know like what I'm doing and what I need to do and for how long we're going to do it for. So it's
all like timelined, and that's literally how my brain works, because in my head I'm like, right, I like do the checking on this day, and then this phase is this long, and then this is when we catch up. I have to do it that way to have like clear, I don't know, it's just how my brain works.
But definitely
I think it works well from like a client perspective, having those clear like timeframes with everything.
Definitely.
So when you obviously you lost the weight, you were working with obviously an online coach, doing kind of tracking calories. So at that point, you were like fairly into training, weight training like regularly.
Yeah, so I was
Yeah.
following like a training plan, and I think that was the thing for me. Like, I love like the training side of things, and then because it was kind of like if your macros fit, like training, I had a bit of a sort of food plan in place, but it was mostly like tracking macros. So I love the training bit, but I struggled to sort of keep the diet side of things as sort of consistent as the training. So I think, yeah, I was training like 3 or 4 times a week, and then I'd have like one PT session, and that was not the same as what we do now. It's obviously like a lot more sort of advanced now, but it was kind of like an upper session,
Yeah.
like a lower session, like a cardio sort of ab session, and then like a full body. So it was kind of, yeah, like hitting everything, but
Yes.
just it changed quite frequently. So I'd have like a new training plan like every month or so. So it was, you'd kind of get into it and then things would change a little bit and you'd have like a different one. So it kept it interesting, but I think you don't progress as well when
Yeah,
you
exactly.
things are sort of switching up as often as
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, 100%. So when did you started following people on like Instagram, and that's when did you kind of just start finding more like maybe people that compete in, or is that how you like got interested in it?
Yeah. So I was like following a lot of different people on Instagram, like you say, and bodybuilders, especially like figure girls and things like that. And the coach I had at the time, she did bikini like back in the day, so I kind of knew a little bit about it from
Right.
that. But then I'm a bit of a nerd. Like when I get my head into something, I really like I have to like do a lot of research
Yeah.
and like understand as much as I can. So I was doing like a lot of research, like watching like YouTube and
Right.
shows and like people's like coaches and like bikini girls YouTubes online and things, and just trying to like soak in as much information as possible to see like if it was something that I wanted to do, or did I just like following
Yeah.
it. So when I was doing that, I decided like I mean I really like all the categories, but for me I think figure stuck out just because like I was following like you and Hannah and like people like that, and
Yeah.
watching like you guys get your pro cards and stuff, and I was like, oh, it really excited me. And then I was following some bikini girls as well, and I thought that was really cool, but I don't feel like I'm very elegant, whereas I feel like bikinis like they
It's
just
very
look they
floaty.
just look very elegant, and I feel
Yeah.
like I'm not that elegant. So I kind of yeah, it was more like the figure sort of things that I was like getting into and watching like you
Yeah.
guys online and thinking like, oh, this could be really cool. And then again, I was still like, oh, but you'll never be able to do that because like you've not like got enough muscle and you've not trained enough. And
Yeah.
I'm obviously like I'm 30, so I'm a bit older as well. So I was like, oh, you maybe I'm too old to like start doing it as well, because I understand like you have to put in like the work and train, and
Yeah.
have a good physique to do it. Like I wouldn't want to, yeah, to do something like that if I didn't think I was almost like worthy or that I'd put in enough
Yeah.
work sort of thing. So I was like, oh, I don't know whether it's like an accurate goal or not.
Yes.
But then obviously when I started chatting to you and we sort of started talking about it, it kind of, yeah, gave me a bit more like hope. I was like, oh, maybe this is something that
Yeah. And this is where actually I think a lot of girls are, right. And I'm not saying like competing is not for everyone. And I
yeah,
think what a lot of girls do is they kind of get into the gym, they start like seeing a bit of progress, and then they just jump to competing straight away. And they're like, oh, I like training. Like, and then people will start saying, oh, you should compete. And they just get thrown in straight
yeah,
away. Whereas like there's so much you can do in that time frame between enjoying training and like maybe thinking about getting into it and
mm,
actually getting on stage. Because it's like, for example, we've worked together like going through a quite a long term like building phase. Now we're
yeah,
going to do a photo shoot prep, which is like a trial run, and then
yeah,
we'll do another reverse diet in a building phase. So there's a lot you can do to kind of bridge that gap
yeah,
between the like enjoyment of training and maybe considering it to then actually getting on stage.
yeah,
And I think that's also such a good thing to go through as well, because you learn so much about yourself and like, how you respond, what you enjoy, how your body responds. And it also gives you a chance to kind of go through that process without having the stress or the kind of end goal as such of actually stepping on a stage to make sure that you actually enjoy it. And then it means, because you like trial run it as such, by the time you get on stage, you already know what to expect and how it's going to work, and you've got a really good routine in place. So I just think it's such a nice way to maybe work with a coach who is more down that route,
Yeah,
who can kind of structure it in the right way.
Yeah.
What is going to take you through the stages and actually bridge that gap to make sure that when you do get to a comp prep, if you do go down that route, you're ready to do it, and you've kind of bridged that gap between the lifestyle and the competitiveness, because there's loads of routes you can go down, right? Like, for example, if you're a girl that is maybe starting to take it a bit more serious, you could say, right, okay, I'm going to work with maybe a slightly, a coach that works with maybe people that are going more down that route. I'm going to get used to living that way. I'm going to live that lifestyle, and I'm going to maybe do a shoot prep, or I'm just going to actually spend some time building some muscle and going through a solid kind of off season or a building phase first.
Yeah.
So there's so many things
feel
you
like
can
that's
do.
important, isn't it? Because like you say, like, you don't know if it's something that, like, it's all good and well sort of watching people do it and sort of seeing the sort of, it's almost like glorified, isn't it, on like Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah.
It looks dead glamorous, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of hard work that you guys have to sort of go through to get to that point. So I think unless you've started to sort of see if you can fit that sort of structure into your life, and because it's obviously, it takes up a lot of time as well. It's not just going to the gym for an hour. Like when you actually sort of really start training properly and sort of doing your cardio and your steps, like it's kind of like, it takes up a lot of your day to make sure that you're doing everything properly. And I think sort of adapting the lifestyle to do like a building phase or to do like a photo shoot prep makes a lot of sense first, to just because otherwise it's a lot of pressure, isn't it? And I think that was one of the things that I liked most about the way we've approached it, is like, I don't feel like because it's something that I maybe want to do, like I have to do it. Like I don't feel like I have to do it. I can just see if I like it, like do this diet phase and do like some nice photo shoots, and I've still got some really good results and some really nice things to look at, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like
exactly. Yeah, that's 100% right. And I think you can still pursue like physique development without getting on stage.
Yeah, for sure.
And like literally you have followed the same process as you would if you were going through a prep.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, I think with like an off season or a building phase, there is a lot of flexibility. Like I'm quite flexible in an off season, and you can be like that and still get on stage. So it's not like, you've done anything that you wouldn't have done if you were getting on stage. So I agree. And I think for a lot of girls, maybe going down that route of, pursuing physique development and going more into that route before deciding if they want to compete is a really, really good idea, because it gives you like a test of what you're doing. Not a test, like a taster as such.
Yeah, exactly. But I think so far I've really enjoyed it. Like I can't believe the progress that we've made in like a short space of time, like building food up as high as we have.
What calories are you on now? I know what calories you're on, but just
so like before, obviously I started my diet phase now, but before that I was on like 3,500 calories on a training day. And since we started, I've put on like, I think about 6 or 7 kilos like in that time. So it's not like loads.
And it doesn't look like,
really tell, like obviously we were talking when we did the training day last week, where I've got a photo of myself where I was like lighter actually than I am. Well, that at the beginning of the week I weighed myself, I was like 73 kilos.
Yeah.
And I was like 72 and a bit kilos in this photo, and my like body composition is like completely different.
Yeah, like now you look at you and you're like, you look like you train, like you're in decent shape. And then before, like, you in the nicest way possible, like, you didn't look like you went to the gym.
No, I didn't, because I
was trying to think, can I say that or not?
Oh no, I'm not offended. It's not my proudest moment. That was like when I was like, oh God, like I need to do something about this, because I was getting like uncomfortable. And like I say, like Dan, my partner, he like runs and does stuff, and I was like, oh God, I can't be like this little chubby thing next to him, like, because he was obviously in good shape, and I was like, I need to do something. But I couldn't. You don't realize the results until you look back at stuff like that and you see like how far you've come. And obviously, like I said, I got down I lost a lot of weight from that point. So I got down to like 64, 63 kilos. But I was like, I wasn't really toned. I wasn't really like, I didn't really have a lot of like muscle or anything. It was just, I was just like slimmer. I was happy because I was like, oh, I don't feel uncomfortable anymore. Like I'm happy and I look a lot slimmer. But I think obviously because I'd just dieted and I hadn't really like built up food or strength, it was just literally from like big to small. There was no, it just did, I still didn't look like I trained or like did anything. So, and that was, I think it took me like a year to like lose that weight, whereas obviously we've spent like less time, built food up, and I've like gained loads more muscle than what I had.
Yeah, and you can really see it because obviously what we're doing now is, because we spent that time in food up, we're in a good spot, we can now go through a shoot like prep as such, and we've got 16 weeks, haven't we, towards the shoot that we do in July. And we're going to treat this as a bit of like a trial prep just to see what we can actually do, and obviously then we'll be in a really nice position to sort of go from there and see where we want to go and potentially build back up and get you ready for a prep if you decide you want to do that, which is exciting. So when you were sort of moving away from your first coach and you were like, actually, I really love training, thinking about potentially taking this a bit more seriously, did you have anything you were like nervous about in terms of going forward or like working with another coach or anything like that?
Not really. So I obviously like I stopped working with my first coach, and then I had like another coach where I was doing like a 6-week thing. And that didn't go well. Like
Oh, really?
I just didn't get on with that coach. Like I got on really well with my sort of PT and the online coach that I had initially, but I felt like I wanted to get like more out of it. So I wanted more of a like you say, like not a prep coach, but like somebody who also did that. So if I did want to like transition to like competing, then that option was there. So I started like a 6-week challenge with another coach, and it just like we just didn't like click. And I think then I was just like, oh God, maybe this is a really bad idea, because it just wasn't, I just didn't have the same like relationship that I did with my other coach. So I was like, oh, I was a bit nervous, like, is this what like all coaches are going to be like if I wanted to like take that sort of next step? And then obviously like we got chatting, and like as soon as we had that first like consultation call, I was like, oh, this is like such a relief. I was like, it must just be like I just had like a bad experience, or it just wasn't for me. But when we started chatting, it was just an instant relief, and I knew that it sounded like a lot more like what I needed, and the support and stuff I think is the main thing. Like I could like talk to you about anything that I had an issue with, whereas like other people I was like, oh, I don't know if like I want to, I just wouldn't have felt comfortable like being a bit truthful or sort of saying, oh, this isn't quite right, or I'm not happy with this. So I think that was the only thing that potentially like worried me, was just making sure that I was like comfortable with who I was going to be working with, especially, you know, if it was going to go down like the competitive route. You can't do that with somebody that you're not like 100% like that you trust and that you know is going to like look after you and like guide you in the right way.
I think that's a really good point, actually, because like, you know, in terms of someone that like what is genuinely cares about you and looks after you, because I know when I first got into competing as well, like I had a couple of bad experiences in terms of like coaches that just, I didn't feel like they were bothered. And I think,
exactly.
You know, obviously there's a lot of prep coaches out there, and I've worked with a lot of girls that have come from very like preppy prep, is that a thing, like preppy prep coaches that are very like, here's your macros, here's training plan, do what you're told type thing. And I think like that's what I try and avoid, in a sense of like you can still get to a very, very high level with your physique, and if you want to go down that route with shoots or comp prep, etc., or even just physique development without going down that route, you can still get to a very high level, you know, without it being that style of coaching. And you know, you can still like, I will still prioritize with the girls like relationship with food and, you know, mental well-being and general well-being. And it doesn't have to be a case of like I've worked with girls. I had a consult with a girl the other day that was literally had a coach that put us straight on no calories and was like chicken and rice every meal. And it's like, I think so many girls that are getting into it that don't really know what it's about, like kind of expect that to be the norm. And it's like, I'm going to be put straight in on 1,200 calories. I'm going to be on chicken and rice for every meal, you know, and it's literally not the case. Like, And I think that's what I want to try and do with girls, is get them to a point where they're like living like as athletes as such, and like really being serious with it,
Yeah.
but actually still having a life, still, you know, eating nice food, and, you know, still like looking after themselves. And I just think it'll be so amazing to be able to show girls that you can do that
Oh
without
God,
being
yeah.
like preppy prep coach,
Yeah.
you know, that route.
Anyone that I speak to who's like, oh, so you're like into like bodybuilding now, and they've got like these sort of like judgments about it straight away, and that is like, oh, so do you just eat chicken and rice and go to the gym 6 hours a day? And I'm like, no, like I eat loads, like I eat loads of different things, like I eat
Yeah,
carbs, I eat protein, I eat veg, like I don't, you're not just stuck to eating like one thing and nothing else. Like, oh, they're like, oh, can you not have chocolate? And I was like, I have chocolate every day, like on my own.
yeah,
It's not you're not restricted. And if
yeah,
anything, I probably eat more than a lot of people that I know do. So it's like,
yeah,
I think there is that, yeah, that sort of pre-misconception that you're going to be like really
100%.
limited, and that you can only like, I mean, obviously you have to be strict, but it's not limiting. It's just as long as you stick to what you're eating, and you know, like that you're having enough calories and stuff. It's not, I
Yeah.
don't think it's not about like the chicken and rice life.
No, and I think that's the thing. There's so many misconceptions about physique development and preps and things like that. And obviously there are coaches out there that are very like a bro style prep coaches.
Yeah.
But, you know, I just think, God, if we can get more girls into it that are like, you know, it can be like, oh, like this can actually be fun. Like this
Yeah.
can be like a nice thing to do, you know. And I think as well, something that is super important to me is like you shouldn't be sacrificing your relationship with food, because a lot of people bang on about, you know, ruins your relationship with food, like you get really messed up body image and stuff like that. But I think if you do it properly, if you work with a coach who does it long term with you, and,
Yeah.
you know, you spend time away from dieting, like enjoying yourself, living your life a bit, like you can have a really positive relationship with it, you know, without it having like negative effects. And obviously, yes, there are some extents where you have to push quite hard at the end of a prep, and, you know, it can get quite tough mentally. But I think if you do it right and you're careful with it, you know, there's so much to be gained from it, and it doesn't have to have all these negative, horrible implications that people think it does.
No, not at all. I think for me, like having the structure has almost like helped, not just like help my training and help like my goals in terms of like my body, but just like in life as well. Like having that structure has made me like organize my time and organize my days. So
Yes.
like around work and around like social events and things like that. So I'm actually like almost like more productive and more prepared about things. And it's like, yeah, it's weird, it's kind of affected like the rest of my life as well, but in like a really good way. Like it's
Like a life level up.
it's just healthy, like you know, like what you're eating, and when you're eating, you know what you're doing, and that all fits in around everything else. And I don't know, for me I like that sort of thing. So I guess it's not for everybody, but I really like having like structure and knowing what I'm doing. So yeah, it's almost like helped me be more productive with other things as well, because I know like what time I've got to fit things in and when I need to do
Yes.
them.
Yeah. Are there any other misconceptions? Because you messaged them like chicken and rice, like in the gym, like 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
Are there any other misconceptions what like you had, or what like other people said to you like before you started
Uh,
getting into it more
no,
seriously?
I don't think so. Like I think like my mum doesn't know anything about like bodybuilding and stuff. So she was just like, oh, what does this mean? Like, are you going to be taking steroids and like not eating anything? And I was like, no. And then I was telling her, because I was telling you the other day, I've been listening to like the Natural Female Muscle podcast, which is dead good. And obviously they're all natural athletes. So I was telling my mum about that, and she was like, oh, I had no idea. And I was like, it's just, I think people just have these like opinions, don't they? And they don't
Yeah.
sort of know anything about it. They just assume. And yeah, it's interesting, like the more I learn about things. And it's good to like, I think, educate other people that don't know,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah.
just to stop
Definitely.
the sort of stigma, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. So in terms of moving from kind of, I guess, a more lifestyle approach into a slightly more specific, like advanced approach, like going down more down the physique route with it, what were the main things that you found different in terms of how everything's structured, how it's all kind of organized, what are you doing day to day, everything like that?
Um, I don't know. It's not, I don't think it's like massively different for me because I enjoy it. So it's like not a chore in a way, but it's just being a bit stricter with myself and being a bit more disciplined in terms of like, obviously, like I said before, I was a bit lax with like my diet before because I was just, I didn't really have like a structure to it. So I'd just kind of be like, oh, if I eat this, like it's fine. I'll just like, I used to hate having like check-ins on a Monday because I'd be like, oh no, like if I actually go out on the weekend, I need time to like get it back during the week so that I don't like put on loads of weight. So, but now obviously my check-ins are on Mondays, and because I've got like, I know what my calories are and my macros, and I've just got more of a drive to like hit my goals because I like want it and I know what I need to do now. So it's just making sure that I like stick to my plan really, which yeah, like once you get into that routine, I think it just becomes like second nature a little bit. Like I don't really have to look at like my meal plan because I know like what grams of each thing I need, and I just make it and prep it and weigh it all out and it's sort of done.
Yeah.
And then in terms of training, it's just like I'm just training a lot harder than what I used to. I think before I used to just do the reps that I was supposed to do, and it's the whole training to failure thing. I think again it's like that's where a lot of people sort of start, don't they? They just do like, oh, it's 12 to 15 reps, so if I do like 15 reps, that's that done. And you're not actually getting the most out of it, unless you're like, obviously, like if you can still keep going, you need to keep going, and or you need to sort of like raise your weight. And I think that's something that I wasn't doing before that obviously we've worked on to do now. So like my training has like become a lot more like efficient, and I can definitely like see the difference between like when I wasn't really like training as hard before to now.
Yeah, it's just looking at all these little things, isn't it? Because I think a lot of, when you first start out, it's basically a case of like, for example, if you've got a fat loss goal, like, okay, we need to find ways of kind of managing your calorie intake. We need to get you moving a bit more. And then it's sort of, as you get more advanced, it's sort of looking at, right, how do we optimize your training? Like, how do we improve your training intensity? Like, how can we work through each set and improve that? It's like form video analysis. And then even I get asked this a lot actually in terms of like what's better, like if it's macros, should I follow a meal plan? And I think like I have loads of girls that still track the calories, but I do think having some sort of template, not necessarily a full-blown meal plan like you must eat this every single day, but I think having some sort of structure with like this is a pre-workout meal, this is a post-workout meal, like you have 2 more meals around them, it just, obviously that's just an example, but I think having some sort of structure so you're not just waking up to your day and being like, what am I going to eat today? Like, because it just gives you that structure, and then you're getting the right amount of pre and post workout kind of carbs, you're getting your protein spread over the day. So I do think and like with you, we built your free calories up like quite high. So like what we did with you, for example, is you had your set meals, and obviously you had your train day, your rest day, and then you had just calories that were like, right, here's like, I think we got used to like 400 calories.
Yeah, like 453 calories.
Yeah, so 453 calories. So it's like, oh, here's some calories, like go and track what you want. So it's like you've got that structure, we know you're hitting the fundamentals, and then you've got basically another meal that you can just add in every day.
Yeah, this is it. Like I was essentially, because I think the thing I like is because you eat like 5 times a day, I was never like getting hungry or I was never like snacking between meals, because I always had like every like 3 or 4 hours I'd be eating again. So it was like there was never the issue of like, oh, I'm a bit hungry. So like with my free calories, it was nice to know that if like I wanted like some extra potatoes or like a little bit more chicken, then I could just track that and like add it to the meal and like bulk it out a little bit more. And then or like on a weekend, like if I wanted a dessert or like something,
exactly,
you've got it there. Like, so again, it's like so much more flexible than I think people realize.
That's a big thing. I think people, sorry, what were you saying then?
Like obviously like when you're building or you're on like
yeah, I mean when you're in prep, obviously it does get quite strict, but even in a shoot prep, like you can be fairly flexible in the shoot prep. But obviously like the last stages of that and then the comp prep, like it has to be to the T.
Oh yeah.
But even then, like you still should be eating food you enjoy. Like you shouldn't be eating meals that you don't enjoy, So yeah, I think that's a big thing, is like a lot of people think it's going to be like super strict and unenjoyable, and obviously yes, it is relatively like strict, but you know, like in an off season, which is most of your time if you are going to do bodybuilding, you know, you can live a pretty like normal life really in terms
Yeah.
of food. And you can even, for example, I think another good thing with the meal plan type structure thing is, if you've got like a protein source in your meal, you could look at that and be like, okay, I know I've got protein in, I can swap that for any other protein source and just
Yeah.
match the calories. So, you know, it's not like you're tied to those specific foods. It's like you can switch things up. It just gives you some sort of structure, so you're not having to sit there every single day and plug your feed into MyFitnessPal.
Oh yeah, this is it. Like I've since we've started, the only thing I've used for my fitness pal for is like my free calories.
Yeah.
But other than that, like you say, like if I've had like have chicken, but if I fancy like mince or like
Yeah.
beef or something different instead, I can just swap it out,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I've got like that structure to stick to, which is good. So like I think like during my like more building phase, during the week I was pretty much eating the same thing every day, just because it's easy to like meal prep for the week,
Yeah.
and like with work and stuff just eat. But then on the weekends, like you say, it can just like be a bit more flexible. So I would sometimes swap like the carb source or like the
Exactly.
protein source and like make something a little bit different, so it still kept like me interested in food and
Yeah.
stuff, and I wasn't just like eating the same thing every day. So
Yeah, 100%. And I think you can have a lot more flexibility than what people think you can. And, you know, it can be like really fun and enjoyable. And it doesn't have to have a negative impact on, you know, relationship food and body image and all these negative things that people talk about. And I think the most important thing is getting a coach that you can chat to, you know, you can just message and be like, can I just talk to you about this for 10 minutes, you know? And getting someone that's going to explain it, because I know when I had my first coach, like I felt like I was so left in the dark. And like the two girls I've got competing this year, we've literally got on a call, they've just started their preps, and we got on a call and we like mapped everything out and was like, right, this is what the first week's going to look like, then we'll bring this in, like, so we've mapped out, obviously we don't know what calories and stuff they're going to be on, but the rough structure of what the prep's going to look
yeah.
like. And we went through like the bikinis, like how do you book your tan, like, you know, go and book your hotel and get yourself booked in for the show. So like all of that stuff, I just think having someone support you with that as well, it just takes the pressure off. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think a lot of girls are potentially just intimidated by like a lot of coaches that maybe have people that have done it for years and years and years, and it can be quite a big scary jump. Whereas, you know, if we can bridge the gap a bit and make that transition smoother, hopefully it'll make it a much better experience, because I know so many people that compete or want to go down that route that have such a negative first experience, and it just like takes years for them to recover from that.
Yeah. And I think that's, again, like you say, you've done so much to kind of guide like me and like the other girls in terms of like, okay, if this is what you want to do, like we can do this and this, or you know, if we go down this route, this is the way we do it. And then like with all the like content you put on like the app and on like social media, and like with the podcast that you do, and like this one and the one with Sanaya and stuff, there's like so much information, it almost, yeah, it just takes away like the wondering and like the pressure or like confusion about things, because it's like, oh, actually, like, yeah, that's quite simple, like I can do that, and it just breaks it down into like bits that make sense, rather than like bombarding you with information as well. Like it's all, there's like a process to it, which I think is good. And if anyone is like looking to do it, like, yeah, they can obviously talk to you about it, which is great, but there's also like loads of information that you've just like put out there that will help them as well.
Yeah, 100%. No, that's good to hear.
Which is
So
again like what got me into it, is because I was watching like your like Instagram stories and things, and I just understood what you were talking about. So it was like, oh, okay, this is fine. Because I think again, like not a lot of coaches, but like some people don't like to share, or like don't sort of tell you stuff, and it's all like a big secret. But I think if you're quite open about it, and I feel like it makes you more approachable as well. Like I felt very like comfortable approaching you about coaching, because I almost felt like I knew you a little bit before like we even started.
yeah, I think that's why I like doing the YouTubes, because I think it just, because it's obviously on Instagram you are quite limited in terms of what you can share, because obviously it's photos and like short videos, whereas on Instagram they're like 20-minute plus videos of like someone's life day to day. So it's always really nice when I get clients that have like watched their Instagram, because they're like, oh, like they say things and I'm like, how do you know that? And they're like, oh, watch your YouTube videos. So it's really nice to be able to like share that. So yeah, no, this was a good chat. So one more thing that I wanted to kind of touch on. So is there anything that you've like since you've started going more down this route, is there anything that you've kind of like learn or a way of doing it that you're like, oh, like I didn't expect it to be like that, or you know, that's different to what I thought it would be before I kind of went down this route or anything like that?
Yeah, I think, like I say, I did a lot of research beforehand because like I just like to know about things, and I just get almost like a bit addicted to stuff and have to like soak up as much information. So I kind of had, I think I had like a good idea of what I was getting myself into. But yeah, it's like, I think for me, it's like I was surprised at how you see like progress. So I'm excited to start like my diet phase now, because when I look at my photos from the beginning of when we started to like just finishing my building phase,
Yeah.
I didn't think that we'd get to where we got to. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd get my calories up as high. I didn't think I'd be like training like I don't feel like, I feel like I can still get stronger, definitely, but the progress that I have made, I was really surprised at that as well, like how much I managed to like like build my strength and train better in the gym. And yeah, like I think that for me is like the biggest surprise, is like when you really stick to it and stick to a plan and stick to being consistent, the goals are a lot easier to achieve. And I think I wasn't expecting to be where I'm at now in that space of time. So I think that was the biggest surprise for me.
Yeah, and because you are so consistent with everything, like you hit everything you need to, you get done what you need to get done, so then you get the progress
Yeah,
because you put the work in.
yeah, this is it. And I think like I know like throughout the like last few months, well, probably like earlier on, I was sort of saying to you a few times like, like I'm doing all this and like I don't know if it's working or not. And you question it, especially obviously like when you're building, because it's not like instant results.
Yeah.
But if you do stick at it and keep sort of plugging away, like if you compare like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, like, you know, like 5 months, 6 months, you do see like the progress. And I think, yeah, hopefully now we get into the diet phase, it'll show even more. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm not in a rush to like do anything, which I quite like, because I thought as well I'd be like, oh, I need to like get on stage immediately. Like I'm quite happy just like building myself up to a point where I'm like, I don't want to like rush into it, basically. Like I want to be as good as I possibly can be before I like do compete or like do start a prep. So I think, yeah, now I've done that first like building phase and I can see, you know, the results that you can get from that. I definitely want to do that again before I even think about like prepping, so I can like, I know that I can get bigger and stronger. So
Yeah, 100%. And that's why we did it, because it's like if we'd have gone from you finishing a dieting phase to just into a prep, like we could have done that, and there would have been a lot of coaches that would have been like, yeah, like you look pretty good, let's just get you on stage because you know it's another client transformation or whatever. But you know, for you, you know, if you look at the long game, you'll be in a better position. Your relationship food is going to be better. You're going to feel happier. The whole prep is going to be so much more enjoyable for you if you spent that time actually solidifying your routine, getting that start point in such a good spot. Like, and if you do decide to prep right, you've already gone through a shoot, so you're gonna have a really good idea of what a prep looks like. You've been through that process, you know what it feels like, you know what to expect. We can iron out any little, you know, things that come up through this prep, so you're ready for your next one, and you're gonna have a lot more muscle. Your calories are going to be a lot higher, so it's sort of a thing of like playing the long game with it. Because again, I get a lot of girls come to me and they're like, I want to get on stage in 12 weeks, and I'm like, no. I'm not doing that. And a lot of coaches will just put people on stage because it's another client on stage. So I think it's so important to just play the long game. And your if you do get on stage at any point, your stage approach is going to be so much better because you've actually spent the time doing the work before you do the prep.
Yeah, this is it. And like I said, I've listened to like a lot of like podcasts and YouTubes now, and it is like bodybuilding, it is about building your body, isn't it? It's not about like, it's not actually really about competing at all. It's about sort of building your physique to be as best as it can be. And I think that's really like what I've loved about it so far, is like just learning about like my body. And like I never had like, I used to love training legs but used to hate training upper. Now I'd prefer to train like shoulders and delts like all day long. And like I'm impressed at like how my upper body's developed and how much stronger like my legs have got. And it's just like I want to keep like doing that and pushing that to the like point of where I'm like, yeah, this is, I feel like I've really developed and like I look different before I even sort of think about sort of prepping or getting on stage, because otherwise I think I'll just be like disappointed with myself if I think like I could go and push myself a bit more. Then I think I'd be a bit disappointed if I didn't really like try to build as much as possible first. And I'm not, like I say, I'm not in a rush. Like I want to do it properly. So
yeah, and that's such a good point, right? What you just said, because a lot of people like they're not even into training properly, and they're like, yeah, I want to get on stage because it like they like the idea of that end goal and that kind of glammed up look. But actually, like you should do bodybuilding because you love the training and you love like the progression. And I think that's what it's like. It just gives you such, I don't know, it's just an amazing thing, I think, to work towards and to be able to have that discipline and like that progression and that drive. And like you said, you can apply that to everything else in your life. Like you should live like that and do that before you even think about competing. And a lot of people do it the other way around. It's like they get into training because they want to compete. They don't compete because they love the training.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've seen a lot of people's stories where they've sort of said, oh, I regret like rushing into my first show and I could have like built myself better, but like I almost like they wanted to get on stage quicker, or they were almost like a bit pressured by a coach to like just do it. Then they sort of then had to like do a bit more grafting before they go on stage again. And I don't know, like it's just really interesting to me. Like I think it's the discipline and like the control and the mindset is just really interesting to me. It's like you say, like it's not just having the structure in like the gym. It's like it has like helped me like in my like day-to-day life, but also like mentally, like it's good for your brain, I think, to like have something to focus on. And like when I'm in the gym and I have like a couple of hours of just like peace and quiet and like you can like you just think about things, and I think it just like helps you like get in a mind space and things like that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. 100%. So I'm excited for this. So basically we've just started the 16-week prep towards the shoot. So there's like, I think it's like 14 girls, actually. So it's quite a lot of girls. It's gonna be really cool. So we're going down to Cardiff. We're shooting with AK in her studio. We're all staying in a hotel. We're gonna do nice little team meals. So that'll be nice. We're going to be working towards that. So the goal is basically, it is slightly shorter than it would be if we were doing a prep. I normally, like the girls I've got at the minute are doing like 24 weeks just because obviously it's nice to have a bit more time. So it's slightly shorter, but obviously we're not going to be like stage lean as such, but we can make an insane amount of progress in 12 weeks, especially because I know you so well now. Like I know what you're like. So I'm excited. So we're going to basically do the 16-week prep towards this shoot, and we're going to treat it like a bit of a prep trial run and see how you get on. So I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, me too, definitely.
Amazing. So if anyone has any questions for like me or Tanya, just shoot me a message. I might, when I share this, I might put like a little cue box up and then say if anyone's got any questions around like transitioning or going more down this path. And obviously then I can just like tag you in them and you can like write what you want under them as well. So maybe we'll do a little bit of a like Instagram Q&A type thing on it, which I think will be quite cool. But if anyone has any questions, obviously you can pop it like in the comments on the YouTube as well, and we can get back to you that way, or you can message either of us on Instagram. This was good. So thank you so much for coming on and like chatting around your journey. Hopefully everyone enjoyed it, and we'll wrap this up there.
Brilliant. Thanks very much.